Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options to Play video update. Couple things to start out here. First off, hope you all had a wonderful July 4th holiday. Some of you might still be on holiday, right? Might have taken the day off, so I hope you're enjoying the rest and relaxation, the time with family. If you're traveling, safe travels. Uh, Second, because it was a holiday week, we shifted the option coaching session from this past Monday. So it's going to be this upcoming Monday, so July 8th. All right. So just want to let you guys know, July 8th after the close, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. I hope you guys can all join. This time around, obviously going to break down trades, but also because it's kind of right at the start of earnings season, going to to dig out that earnings prep pack again. All right. So hope you guys can catch that. All right. So we're into July, and that means that earnings season is just about here. But the wait will probably have to go on for a few more days, okay? Because this week, yes, this upcoming week, it is going to be kind of like the anticipation building, but you're not going to get a ton of big names just yet. Uh, so Monday, all right, before the open, only a small cap name AZZ. It's a light volume, thinly traded industrial name. Occasionally it moves, but right, so there'll be an occasional move here and there. Not a name I've really traded in the past. Not a name I've really had any success with. Options are pretty thinly traded, so just from like a strictly trade point of view, I just don't have a ton of interest in it. So probably gonna leave that one alone. All right. After the close Monday, nothing scheduled. Tuesday before the open, Pepsi. So market cap wise, this is going to be biggest name of the week. Pricing in about 330, 335 in that range. All right. This thing has just been in a very nice, steady uptrend basically since the calendar flipped over to January. Right. Had a pretty solid number to start the year, and it had another solid number. Had another solid number just recently, just kind of keeping things going, right? I mean, just stair stepping higher, decent numbers. So good action on the fundamental front, good action on the technical front. Um, here are the question marks, all right? So not exactly the same, but in terms of the consumer staples, General Mills, Conagra, McKesson all just reported right this past week, and they all got hit initially after their numbers. They're all kind of mixed, just on like the revenue less side. So the names that have just reported haven't been too stellar. Reactions have been lower. And when you combine that with the fact that Pepsi is just in this very steady uptrend, I mean that seems to be kind of like a recipe for lower volatility, right? Peers haven't acted well. Stocks in a pretty steady uptrend, which just in and of itself typically means lower volatility. So, if you're thinking about doing this, maybe some sort of calendar spread or longer dated call spread, right? Something to smooth out the higher near term implied volatility, kind of in favor of a longer term position, right? Something maybe say like doesn't have a huge move, but it maintains the trend, it keeps working its way higher. So, selling near term premium to buy longer term premium, something along that lines, right? I mean that's kind of how I would view Pepsi. Okay. Tuesday after the close, kind of like an under the radar, like pretty big mover, Helen of Troy. So this is kind of like a consumer staple too. They products. They do hair dryers, other sorts of things. What's interesting about this is as you can see that there's been some really big moves in this over the last couple quarters, and even like going back a little bit further, you can see that that over the past year really there's been some pretty significant moves in this stock. So what's priced in is about 9 points, and actually it's averaged about 23 the last 2 quarters. All right, so those options are priced over 50% under what it's averaged just the last 2 quarters. Coming off a big beat and raise, massive move higher. Obviously, it's off its high underneath this 140 area, but kind of hanging around, hanging around. So, those options are so much under what the average move was the last 2 quarters that it becomes interesting to me. um, as a volatility strategy candidate, right? Because it's a weak number got destroyed, strong number and ripped. Both of those numbers well above what's priced in this quarter. The only thing you got to be careful with on this one is that the options can be a little bit more thinly traded. Spreads can be a little bit wider, not a lot of volume. So that's one of like the hesitations I have with this thing. But it has been a pretty consistent mover, and those options are so much underneath what it's averaged the last 2 quarters that it kind of makes it interesting to me. Wednesday before the Open, tentatively Kraft Heinz. So it's on the calendar, but they haven't confirmed. So once we get the date confirmed, then we can always revisit this idea. But they haven't confirmed yet, so kind of just like a waiting game for that. Also, Wednesday before the Open, MSM. So this will be like the first industrial part. So there's of the industrial part suppliers, which is MSM, Grainger, GWW, and Fastenal. This will be the first. They're pricing in about 4.25. In terms of like that group, though, this is probably like the least consistent mover, and the chart probably the weakest of the three as well. Fastenal reports later in the week, so that's one that we've traded in the past. A little bit more consistent, so I think I'd prefer to maybe focus on that one of any of these two. All right. Wednesday after the close, Bed Bath & Beyond. So this could be an interesting one next week as well. They're pricing in about $1.50, $1.60 in that range. So this thing was up close to 75% at one point, right, going into the last quarterly results. And after kind of a downbeat print, this thing has literally given it all back, all of it, the entire year-to-date gains. And it really just hasn't even had much of a bounce in the last like 2 months or so. So it's going to go into earnings just off its 52-week low, and just in this really aggressive downtrend. Retail was pretty volatile this quarter, and Bed Bath & Beyond has been pretty volatile already this year. So I feel like it could be a pretty good mover. Although it does seem to fall more into like the speculative camp to me. Just because as like a $11.50 stock, moving $1.50 is a lot more than a stock that was at like almost like 19 to 20, right? I feel like risk reward maybe favors the bull side more, right? Just because of where it's come from, but at the same time, the price action is just so ugly. Just coming off a downbeat quarter, hasn't had an uptick in months, hanging right above its 52-week low. So it's just like the technicals are saying. The technicals are seemingly indicating lower, but risk reward may be more bullish. Get some activists in it now, so maybe something on the more speculative strangle side on that one. Thursday before the bell, Delta. So looking for about $2 or so, and the thing with Delta is that it tends to move with the monthly RASM numbers. So you get like those at the beginning of the month, you get the like the revenue per average seat mile. And then that kind of reduces some of the volatility normally. Throw on top of that just this past week, they already raised guidance. So this Tuesday, they gave some numbers. All right, so they already raised guidance. They have the monthly RASM numbers, so it's typically less volatile, right? And it could be, you could make the argument that's near the point where it's like good news is priced in. But what's interesting about Delta is when I scroll out, you can see that it's within striking distance of this long-term area of resistance. And, yes, it has failed up here countless times, right? But, the one time that it finally does go, I mean, that's going to be a really significant pent-up breakout, right? A year and a half resistance level, so which is basically right around like 60. So, it's priced in $2. It's hanging out within striking distance of that. So maybe kind of like a speculative bullish bet just to see if it kind of gets up into like the 61, 62 area, because it could be a really significant pent up multi-year breakout. So that's what I'm watching on Delta. All right, also, so Fastenal, like I mentioned, so they're looking for about 2 points. This stock actually just split, so that's why if you're familiar with this, it's a $30 stock now. It's because they split. So we've actually traded this one on and off the past couple years, and honestly, most of the times, like when I trade this, like the reason is because it's one of the first industrials report, so it has that element of surprise to it. You know, overall, like I'd say, like the fact that it's coming after MSM kind of removes some of that element of surprise, right? But stock has been kind of consolidating, and maybe you get like a 2 to 3 point move either way, right? Like up to like 35 or down to 30. So it seems like there could be visibility for like a 2 to 3 point, but options are pricing in two, so not a ton of room there. Um, I feel like any strategy would probably need to involve spreads just to get the risk down. But maybe you could favor the bull side just after last quarter was pretty solid, and the stock has acted, okay compared to some other industrials which have, really got demolished after last quarter. So that's one to keep an eye on, and really like a lot of the interest is because it's one of the first major industrials to report. It kind of gives an idea, and a bunch of other names could move off of that too. Okay, last but not least, Infosys, and I'll be honest, I haven't traded this stock in years. They're pricing in about 70 cents or so. Uh, it does occasionally move. No, not it's not really a big mover, and honestly, like if you look, I go back a little bit, you can see, it hasn't really done a whole lot in a while. All right, so uh, it, it, it could be a mover. I just don't have a ton of interest in it. I haven't traded in such a long time um, that I'd probably just leave it alone, just because it doesn't seem like it has a ton of potential. But 70 cents doesn't seem too bad. There's been some moves in like the 80 to $1 range just at the beginning of this year, so it does seem like it's possible they could move a little bit more than that. But it's just not a name I'm really familiar with at the moment, and haven't really traded in a while, so I'll probably just end up leaving that alone. All right. So you can see, a little bit slower to get things going here in July, but it'll pick up really fast. And what you always want to watch for too, like the first couple weeks of like the month that earnings start is unscheduled guidance, because this is right around the time when companies are like wrapping up their books for the quarter, and they may have numbers already. So you might see like that unscheduled guidance. So you're going to be on the radar for that. All right. So hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And remember, the option session is this coming Monday, 7/8, at 4:30 after the close. All right. So hope to catch you then. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you all on Monday.